hello, everybody. Shaloha, as I learned from Rabbi recently. I love it. I'll probably say it for a while now. But yeah, here we are in Hawaii, Honolulu in particular. So today we're gathered, we're being joined by a couple people from, are all of your speakers from Emanu-El?
Yes, they're all members of our community. Yes, our Temple Emanu-El community.
Wonderful. So we have Rabbi Ken Aronowitz, who, so in the synagogue is one of the largest synagogues in Hawaii, correct?
We have over 200 member families. So yeah, that makes us, you know, a bigger fish in a small pond, I guess you could say.
Wonderful. So with that said, why don't I go ahead and turn it over to you to welcome everyone. And then if you don't mind introducing also the panelists from today, that would be great.
So I would be happy to. Thank you. And Shaloha, everybody. It's great to be with you. This is a first for me, and I believe a first for our community. So, of course, being a first, I don't want to let the moment go to offer these words. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'achianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Certainly thankful to God and to technology to bring us all together this morning and this afternoon. So it's great to be with you. Yes, it's amazing because, you know, when Leah first approached me with this idea, I was like, well, how do we do that? And she was nice enough to give me some suggestions as to what to cover. And just about every suggestion offered matched up with a member of our community. And so in a moment, it's going to be my pleasure to introduce to you Larry Steinberg, our archivist at Temple Emanu-El, who is going to talk about Elias Abraham Rosenberg and the Kalakaua Scroll and a brief history of Jews coming to Hawaii and those we stand on the shoulders of. Then we're going to hear from Trudy Schandler-Wong, who is a member of Congregation Sof Marav, our neighbor sister congregation, member of the United Synagogue, a conservative movement. And she is going to speak in the spirit of justice, justice you shall pursue, a member of our community of blessed memory who made it his legacy to pursue justice, and that would be Kirk Cashmere. And she's going to talk about his legacy. Then we're going to turn it over to Moses Paskowitz, whose father, blessed memory, Doc Paskowitz, was the father of surfing in Israel. And of course, surfing is, and he can also speak to Jews who surf in Hawaii. Yes, there are Jews who surf in Hawaii, believe it or not. And he'll tell you all about it. And last but certainly not least, you know, we're also about praying for and pursuing peace. And we have a mensch when it comes to that department. And he is Seymour Kazimirski, and several years ago organized a series of events around the organization called Ukuleles for Peace. You know, ukulele is very prominent, you know, in Hawaiian music. In fact, we just lost an iconic figure in Hawaiian music, Willie Kay, and among other instruments he played was ukulele. So he's going to talk about that. But first, I just want to give you a brief overview. First of all, I hope you noticed, it's kind of hard to see on the screen, but this is my formal attire, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I wear. If you wear a suit to Temple or Synagogue in Hawaii, one of two things. They're going to say, oh, where are you visiting from? Or, were you in court today? Because the only place that people wear suits generally are going to court, lawyers and those attending court. Not even our governor or mayor would be seen hardly seen in a suit. They'd be seen in a aloha shirt and slacks. That's formal attire. But we have approximately, give or take, 10,000 Jews in the state of Hawaii. At least that's the number I was given when I first moved here 2 decades ago. And the number, it still comes up. We're 1/2 of the population, but we are, you know, very visible. There are several congregations on Oahu. Temple Emanu-El, we are a member of the Union for Reform Judaism. Temple Congregation Sof Ma'arav is a member of the United Synagogue. We have the Oahu Jewish Ohana Independent Congregation. We also have one of the few Jewish military chapels, Aloha Jewish Chapel at Pearl Harbor. And finally, Chabad of Hawaii. We also have neighbor island, outer island congregations on Maui, on Kauai, on Big Island. We also have Chabad represented on those islands as well, thanks to the Rabbi of Chabad here on Oahu and Rebbitzin following the commandment to be fruitful and multiply. His children are sort of fanned out and are represented on the other islands as well. We also well, it's a beautiful place to be Jewish because we could be outside, really most every day of the year. We do, get our rainy times as well, but mostly you're looking at the beach or the mountains. Although where we are in Nuuanu Valley, it's sort of a rainforest climate. So a former rabbi here used to say, if you want to find your way to Temple Emanu-El, keep driving. When it starts raining, you'll know you're there because we're up against the mountains, but we have waterfalls. It's just a beautiful place to be Jewish. And we have, as I said, over 200 member families here at Temple, religious school, Chevra Kadisha. We have, there is Jewish life to be sure here across the islands. And as Leah mentioned before, one of our big, and forgive me, I'm not stripping down, but anyway, I wanted to show you our catchphrase here. This is our Shaloha t-shirt, which is available for purchase, by the way, through our Chai Boutique. A little plug for our sisterhood. And also, if you've ever watched, if you watched the last season of Hawaii Five-0, this high five cap was actually featured on one of the episodes. So we have a couple of members of our congregation who have done, extra work on Hawaii Five-0 and Magnum PI. So it's amazing. We also have a former governor, Linda Lingle, Jewish, member of our Jewish community. Several attorneys general have been members of the Jewish community. So we are, around. We contribute to the, in fact, our lieutenant governor, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our Temple member, Lieutenant Governor Dr. Josh Green, who has been a guiding presence and very important in the state's response to COVID-19. And so we also have a preschool here at Temple. I mean, we have Jewish life for sure, all around. And so we're very lucky to have great members, beautiful, wonderful members of our community, whom I'd like to get to, because I know that you may have questions too, and I want them and myself to have a chance to answer any and all questions. So Leah, if it's okay, I'd like to introduce our first guest, if I may. You gotta unmute yourself, sorry.
So please do, and if he could unmute himself,
Yes. Okay, so also, time permitting, I'm in our library right now, and one of the features of our library, I don't know if you can see it from here, is a picture of our beloved scholar of residence of blessed memory, Rabbi Morris Goldfarb, who remembered lovingly here by so many, including myself. But anyway, I want to get to our presenters for today, and I could think of no better place to begin than talking about really our most historic possession, that being the Kalakaua Scroll, which really talks about our connection or seeking connection between the Jewish community and the Native Hawaiian community. And so without further ado, if he could unmute himself.
I'm unmuted.
All right, awesome. Our temple archivist, Larry Steinberg, to talk about Abraham Elias Rosenberg, the Kalakaua Scroll, and briefly a little overview of Jews coming to Hawaii. And I'll stop talking and turn it over to Larry.
I'm pushing my start button, so I've got 10 minutes. Aloha. Welcome to Hawaii. The rabbi first approached me, I said to myself, there's Jews in Los Angeles? The word here is Ohana, but we're all part of the Mishbucha in Yiddish. I'm retired here about 10 years. I'm the archivist. I answer questions. I do research. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of Jews in Hawaii to start with. This was gathered mostly by Kirk Cashmere, and you'll have a little bit more on Kurt in a bit. It's part of a senior thesis he started at Brandeis when he was going to Brandeis. He got back to Oahu, our island, started law school, and never really finished it. But the first mention of Jews in Hawaii is a whaler's sea log in 1798. The whaler Neptune remarks that the Hawaiian king came aboard with his, quote, Jew cook. Now, whether this was a Jewish cook or somebody who knew how to cook Jews, we can't really be sure, but that's the first mention. Jews began getting here in the mid-1850s as part of the sugarcane plantations. They were predominantly German Jews. They were managers and suppliers of the plantations. they started coffee plantations. After the closing of the frontier began, Frederick Jackson Turner's closing of the frontier, we got more Jews out of the end of the California gold rush. And in Nevada, we had the Comstock silver rush, the Comstock lode. They began as store owners along the waterfront, importers, to go along with the plantation people that had been here. Most prominent one was Paul Newman, Neumann, who was King Kalakaua's attorney general and worked for several other of the kings, Queen Liliuokalani, etc. In 1901, we have the first Jewish congregation, the Hebrew Congregation of Hawaii, 40 members. They lasted until about 1906. There's a lot of come and go to the West Coast. They started a cemetery in 1902. They had many Jewish servicemen here before World War I, many at Schofield Barracks. At the end of World War II, the Jewish Welfare Board started a Jewish Community Center and sent Alexander and Jenny Linzer, who opened the center. Our congregation is derived from the 1938 Honolulu Jewish community of 35 families, which became part of the Jewish Community Center and First Synagogue. During the war, everything was done by military chaplains. In 1942, with the extension of Hickam Field for World War II, they took out the Jewish cemetery that had started in 1902, and they were put in Nuuanu Cemetery. So there's a Jewish section there going to 42, at which point they organized the Hebrew Burial Society of Oahu. 1947, Jewish Welfare Board sent a rabbi to take over for the family that had been running it. He was hired as the rabbi for our community. A sisterhood was founded. Our sisterhood was very happy to hear that the sisterhood here predates Temple Emanu-El, so they always have rank over everything that goes on. In 1950, they started a religious school. The Temple Board officially proclaimed us Temple Emanu-El, and they bought a building on Oahu Avenue, which they rapidly outgrew. They began a building fund, sold the property, and built our present temple, which is the oldest synagogue built from the ground up in Nevada, in Hawaii. I'm sorry, I had 40 years in Nevada. And it was dedicated in May, the last 3 days of May, 1960. So that's how we got here. The first Jews came with the sugar plantations. As commerce slowed down in the West, more and more Jews, predominantly German Jews again, came in as merchants. King Kalakaua was an enlightened monarch of his age. He was fascinated with languages, cultures, and peoples. He and his queen, Queen Emma, took a circumnavigation of the earth in 1881, and they visited all the other monarchs on an equal basis worldwide. They toured Japan, China, the Malay Republic, Siam, India, Egypt, Italy, Germany, and eventually to England. And each place he touched base and got a feel for their religions. The ancient Hawaiian religion had been taken apart by the missionaries. Most of what they had done worked to the detriment of the Hawaiian people. They prohibited chanting. And of course, in an oral tradition, all of your knowledge and heredity is passed down with the oral tradition. The king had heard about Jewish chanting, and in 1886, when a merchant named Elias Abraham Rosenberg arrived, the king immediately contacted him, hired him as a customs officer, and moved him into the imperial palace to teach him. And he had brought, Elias Rosenberg had brought a scroll with him and a yod. He taught the king Hebrew. He taught the king cantorial chanting. Elias Abraham Rosenberg, we don't really know if he was a rabbi. His tombstone in Coloma, California, has a resh in front of his name, which you can translate as the learned or as rabbi. We do know that he was trained in a yeshiva. He was an Ashkenaz Jew, was not welcomed by the German Jews that were here. There's a lot of scurrilous newspaper articles in the local papers that talk about his long beard and talk about his long black coat. Other references that were traditionally thrown at the Eastern Jews, the Ashkenazim, by the German Jews. The wealthiest person in the kingdom was Spreckels, who was not Jewish, but was the sugar king of the world, raising sugar here and processing in California, but he also owned the local newspaper. When Rosenberg returned to San Francisco to stir up more business, he was a man in his 80s. He caught pneumonia and passed away. He's buried in Coloma, California. The scroll remained in Hawaii with King Kalakaua. On his passing, it went to Kapiolani, his queen, and later into the ali'i, the nobility of the various islands. It was loaned for high holy days to various congregations from about the 1920s until just before World War II, and it disappeared. It was lost. In 1960, when our temple was being dedicated, Princess Abigail Kawanananakoa sent the yod that had come with it as a gift to the temple. It's been dedicated to the temple since then. Rabbi Nodell, who was here, and Professor Adler at the university kept a watch out for the Torah scroll. And in 1973, one of our board members, Sam Landau, an attorney, was handling an estate for the Hayes family, and the scroll turned up. It had been stored in the basement. It was in miserable condition, had been attacked by insects, but it was authenticated by Nodell and Adler. Being a Reformed congregation, we're not obligated to do a Geniza burial for harmed Torah scrolls.
Look, Larry, real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. Were you
Yes.
meaning to show us something? Because we see your desktop, but I don't know if you meant to show us a document or...
No, I didn't. So you have a picture you can put up later of the Kalakaua in its case. Oh, did somebody just put that up? Somebody...
You
Yeah,
can
This
stop
is the
sharing
scroll.
your
This is the
screen if
scroll,
you want.
everybody.
Okay.
This is the scroll.
There's the scroll. Being Reform, we can display it.
I do not see the scroll on my screen. I don't know if anybody else does it. I just see your desktop.
Look at my video. No, look at my video. Rabbi's video.
Ah, okay.
Rabbi's showing you. Okay.
See mine. My box.
Okay. That's here. There has been great reverence for it. It's, to anthropologically, it's the most unusual artifact. It's the crossing of two civilizations, two cultures that never, ever should have met. And they come together, the Hawaiian and the Jewish, in this one artifact. And we cherish it as part of both Jewish and Hawaiian history. And that's 12 minutes, and I'm done.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you. So this is a scroll, everybody. This is the Kalakaua Scroll, complete with the yod as well. Do you want to do questions now, Lee, or you want to wait till the end when everybody's had a chance to speak? Well, I'm not hearing you.
We could do questions. Larry, if you could just stop sharing your screen.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's Seymour's screen.
Seymour, if you could stop, yeah, to de-share it, yeah. Okay.
I see someone in a beautiful spot with mountains behind them smiling. A beautiful woman smiling happily.
Oh. All right.
Seymour, you need to stop sharing your screen,
Yeah,
darling.
stop, or if someone chats him also
Yeah,
to do it.
don't you love technology?
I'm away from my phone, of course. Hold on, let me see.
Of course, but you got to walk down and show us the scroll, Rabbi.
Yes,
Thank you
that's
so
what
much.
I'm going to do. Give you guys the full tour.
Yeah, you're a moving shot. Excellent work.
It's our social hall. All right, let me see if I can get Seymour on the line to stop. Hang on 1 second. Hi, can you unshare your screen right now? Okay, no worries, thank you. All right. He's efforting to unshare his screen right now. But did anybody have any questions for Larry before I introduce our next speaker?
So I'm looking at the chat. I don't see any questions right now.
All right, we can wait till the end too to give everybody a chance to speak, or if you want to do that, or if anybody has any, please.
If people want to go to www.shaloha.com, our temple website, I have a history posted there, and you can ask me questions through there at your convenience.
Yes, Larry is a wealth of information on all things Jewish history and temple history in Hawaii. So with that, I'm going to ask Larry if you could mute yourself, and Trudy, if you could unmute yourself. While Trudy's getting ready, I wanted to also acknowledge a piece of history that I was unaware of before I moved here, which is the history of the Nisei veterans. These were Japanese Americans who were in internment camps and yet volunteered and joined with the U.S. military in World War II and helped to liberate the concentration camps. And so Larry talked about, two cultures that you didn't expect to meeting up. This was also an example of that as well. People had no idea of what they were going to encounter, but are, heroes to us in the Jewish community. So with that said, I want to introduce Trudy Chandler-Wong, who I hope is unmuted or unmuting herself. Trudy is a member of Congregation Sof Ma'arav, a member of United Synagogue, a conservative chavurah, which I'm also have a long history with, as my wife was the first bat mitzvah there. But Trudy had a wonderful relationship as friends, close friends with Kirk Cashmere, blessed memory, who, as I said, really embodied the command to pursue justice. And so, Trudy, if you're out there, and I am awesome. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Trudy Chandler-Wong to share with us the important legacy of Kirk Cashmere, which was actually the genesis of our Jewish Film Festival years ago. But I'll turn it over to Trudy, please.
Well, I have nothing to say because between you and Larry, I think little bits and pieces of what I was going to share have been shared. So please excuse the fact that there might be a bit of repetition, but I don't know if all of you have ever had the privilege of knowing Kirk Cashmere or meeting him, and I have his photograph right here so that you can see that he was just a fine-looking, wonderful young man And we met at Temple Emanu-El, as a matter of fact. And without any further ado, I did prepare telling you a bit about Kirk and what he has done for this community. It's not difficult to share knowledge, thoughts, and admiration about someone who has enriched your life simply by knowing and interacting with them. Such are my thoughts and feelings for Kirk Cashmere of blessed memory. I had the pleasure of meeting Kirk at Temple Emanu-El's traditional Shabbat morning services shortly after my moving to Hawaii. Kirk had lived in Hawaii from the age of 5 when he moved from Wisconsin with his mother and his brother. Kirk attended and graduated from Iolani School and continued with his education at Brandeis University in Waltham, Massachusetts, majoring in Near Eastern and Judaic studies. Upon his return to Hawaii, he attended and graduated from the William S. Richardson School of Law at the University of Hawaii, while taking time to research the history of the Hawaii Jewish community as a possible advanced degree. But as the saying goes, he had miles to go before I sleep. Kirk was the kind of person who could always find an answer and then pursue how to make it better. He was responsible for bringing same-sex marriages to statewide attention, as well as protecting the privacy of HIV/AIDS patients while serving on the governor's committee. Kirk and Dr. David McEwen founded the Life Foundation to help those stricken with HIV/AIDS. Kirk explained to David that the 10th and 8th letters of the Hebrew alphabet spelled life, and thus the Life Foundation was founded and properly named. Kirk also served as legal director of the ACLU and was a member of the State Ethics Committee. Kirk was one of 3 attorneys who represented 3 same-sex couples who wanted to be legally married in Hawaii. Circuit Judge Kevin Chang ruled that the state failed to show any compelling reason to ban same-sex marriages, and the rest, as we recall, is history. Civil rights were Kirk's main mission. This led to Kirk taking on the US government. A 65-foot cross was erected at Camp Smith. The ACLU and 15 individuals of various religions filed suit in federal district court seeking to force the Marine Corps to remove the huge cross from the military base. The request was denied, but a suit was filed demanding the cross be ordered removed on the grounds that it violates the First Amendment, which requires a separation between church and state. The court action was filed in the names of Tim Kuriyuki and Kirk Cashmere, both Honolulu lawyers with the ACLU, and 15 individual Hawaii residents listed as 7 Christians, 2 Buddhists, 4 Jews, and a Unitarian and a Quaker. The court complaint against the government and the Marine Corps claimed that the maintenance of the Camp Smith cross on military land is objectionable in that it symbolizes governmental approval, sponsorship, preference, and endorsement of a specific religion, apparently a reference to Christianity. On a personal note, Kirk embraced us as family. From the moment we met, he understood our commitment to our faith and our family. When we were finally blessed, after losing 3 prior, we were finally blessed with the arrival of our children. Kirk showed up in the hospital room with Shabbat candles, a handmade kippah, and a homemade challah, so our children, Ari and later Sharoni, would be able to celebrate Shabbat from this beginning. Sabbaths and holy days were all the sweeter because of Kirk. Needless to say, on time wasn't quite the message, particularly when we were invited to welcome the Sabbath at Uncle Kirk's, but we needed to understand that it is meant as a late night, but a joyous one. The same would go for holy day and holiday meals, as Kirk wouldn't take shortcuts. Tradition was truly a part of the gatherings. At our daughter Sharoni's bat mitzvah, she wanted encouragement on the bima, so she asked her Uncle Kirk to please lead shacharit. He did so with pride and great pleasure. When there was a minyan, Kirk was there to make certain that there were 10 men, no matter how weak or exhausted he was. When Kirk passed away, we held minyans at our home. Amazing as everyone introduced themselves and how they knew Kirk. They convinced us that they personally, each one, was Kirk's best friend. And we thought we were. Uncle Kirk would remind us of concerts on public radio or classic films playing in town. When the temple was beginning their film festival, to me and Lynn Zuckerkorn, the only true title for it was Temple Emanu-El's Kirk Cashmere Jewish Film Festival. He was the truly knowledgeable, committed one who didn't seek accolades, but we knew he was deserving of such an honor. Kirk lost his own battle with HIV/AIDS on December 2nd, 2002. While we knew for quite a while that he suffered from AIDS, it was not shared information. That was his prerogative. Kirk first became ill as there was a cut on his foot that wouldn't heal. It got progressively worse and culminated in the loss of his leg. We all kept that information private, as Kirk was not one to share negative information. We became Kirk's support team, and we were there to help him check in and out of the hospital and be the cheerleaders as he would get himself up the steep steps at his home on one leg. Kirk remains in our hearts. He truly added to our children's Jewish education. He taught unconditional love and true tolerance simply by being the example. He was positive to the end. The last time we took Kirk to the hospital, he reluctantly trusted me with the wheelchair driving. I had to leave as it was, unbeknownst to Kirk, my birthday, and the girls were having lunch for me. When he inquired, as to why I didn't stay, he was told it was my birthday. When I returned home, there was a magnificent bouquet of peace roses waiting. I saved them and dried them and put them around his headstone when it was placed. Kirk remains in the heart of each member of the Wong Ohana. He was my brother and Uncle Kirk to Ari and Sharoni, and yes, he was beloved and one of a kind. He was detail-oriented and had amazing Shalach Manat boxes for Hamantashen and made delicious challah every Friday and set the most beautiful Shabbat holiday tables. Memories that continue to fill our hearts with awareness, gratitude, and love. After Kirk died, his mother, Eileen, offered Kirk's collection of TV guides. He had every one boxed in order and kept in pristine condition. I declined that generous offer because I knew my husband would certainly beat me to declining it, but it was a wonderful offer. Kirk had also put aside magnificent Waterford crystal that had his Shabbat candles every Friday on the table, and he would continue to bless with him. He gave those to us to have for our Shabbat tables, along with his antique menorah, which I don't know if you can see, so I'll bring it over so you can see his antique menorah that hadn't had the previous year's wax cleaned off. So we have determined that that wax will never be removed because it's Kirk's. So we add our wax every year to the Kashmir menorah. And for those of you who haven't been to our home during Hanukkah, I am inviting you now to come to the Hadassah fundraiser at our house to see our Hanukkah decorations. It's not worth missing. You definitely need to be there. Anyway, I want to finish this quickly before I start to cry, and this is the hardest part. I am certain that Kirk knew and knows that we're talking and thinking about him. He would scold me if I choked up, but he would also know that my family and I truly loved him and will continue to love this remarkable man who truly made such a difference in so many ways in the Hawaii Jewish community to so many lives. Aloha, Kirk. Lahitraot, Ahuiho, and Mizpah.
Thank you, Trudy. You know, Kirk really just embodied Hillel's teaching not to separate oneself from your community, because he is, and still in memory, so inextricably linked to the Jewish community here. So thank you for that. And I didn't know about the Life Foundation part, so thank you. I learned something new today. Lee, if it's okay, unless anybody has any questions, I'm happy to introduce our next speaker.
Let me tell Leah, there's 2 photos that are on your computer now.
I do not see. I just want to take a moment real quick, though, and just thank you so much for what you shared. That was beautiful, and your vulnerability and your openness, and just, I don't know, it hit me right in the heart. So I want to thank you for sharing his story and for your vulnerability like that. So, with that said, I don't see a screen being shared.
Okay, so while you're looking for that, can I introduce our, I see something coming up. I don't know if that's your screen. Our next speaker. Is it okay if I go on and we'll see if we can?
Yes, for sure.
All right. Surfing is part of the culture, the life of Hawaii. And there's a gentleman in our community that we're blessed to have who is a surfer himself, and whose his father, as I said before, blessed memory, was the father of surfing in Israel. So if you want to know about surfing in Judaism, there's one person to go to, and that is Moses Paskowitz, and that is who I'm honored to introduce right now. Take it away, Moses.
Aloha, Ken. Thank you so much, everybody. Shaloha. And after, I don't even know how I can follow after that great dictation about Kurt. I've been to the Hawaii Jewish Film Festival almost every year since the last 9 years I've been here. It's an incredible event. I'm very, very honored to be part of it. Thank you so much, Leah, for sharing those stories. To move forward for my story about my father, Dorian Doc Paskowitz first came to Hawaii in 1939. It brought him here because of surfing. And as a young boy growing up in Galveston, Texas, and moving to Mission Beach, California, surfing in the late 30s, Hawaii was the epitome of where to go and where to be around. And so he got on the USS Abraham Lincoln and made it out here one day in the summer of 1939. He then got a chance to meet Rabbi Kekai, who was one of the original Beach Boys from the 30s, who introduced him to Duke Hanamoku and all his brothers. By the time he went back to Stanford in 42 and graduated in 46, he came back to Hawaii to try to start a lifestyle and living in the Pacific Club, having breakfast with Dillingham and the boys. It kind of wasn't his, it really wasn't his path of life. Being a devout Jew, a surfer, he just felt he was losing his mantra, he was losing his mana. So in 1956, he went to Tel Aviv, Israel. And is known as the father of surfing, actually, in almost all of Europe. There's hard to find any surfing prior to 1956 in Europe, even though he went to Tel Aviv, Israel, and brought surfing there. He went actually as a Stanford doctor and a Jew. He wanted to first go join I guess it was one of the wars in 56. So he said, I'm a Jewish doctor, I'll go and join the army. So he tried to go join the army. They told him, what are you, Meshuggah? Get the hell out of here. So he went down to the beach. So down in Frischman Street in Tel Aviv, he met Shaul Zinner, Topsy Kansopolsky. They were the lifeguards of the beach. And a friend of mine, I'm just gonna share my screen here with you guys for a moment. He just sent us this article from, I don't know, can you see the screen, folks?
I'm not able to see.
It just says iPad. I saw your iPad thing, but I didn't see that.
Okay, let's try to go back here to my Zoom, share content, and then let's share my screen. And here, well.
You need my screen to be able to put up another one, because I see that there's some blanks. So if you're short, space.
Oh, I think we're good. You should be able to.
It's just loading. Anyways, I wanted to show you some images of the 50s from Tel Aviv, Israel. And then if you want, let me try one more time on call. Let's see. Anyways, Ken,
Yeah.
like Larry says, where is the 12-year-old when you need them?
That's all right.
Right, but in 2008, Dorian brought surfboards to the Gaza Strip, which, as everyone knows, there's nothing comes into Gaza. So he felt that if surfers could learn to share their aloha with the waves, that there might be some peace among themselves. As we moved forward to last year, in 2019, I got to go back to Israel, and this beautiful statuette marquette is an exact replica of what they're getting ready to put together in what they call the Dorfanayim in Tel Aviv, Israel. The director of sports events and the director of antiquities and statues has agreed, as well as the government and the state, to put the Tel Aviv Surfing Community Center that will have a 1.25 lifelike size of Doc Paskowitz here. That'll be very reminiscent of what we have in Hawaii, the Duke Kahanamoku statue. So when they're finished with building that recreational center, Dorian Doc Paskowitz will be welcoming everyone, just like Uncle Duke, here to enjoy themselves when it comes to surfing. There are probably, I would say, at least 1,000 surfers who are Jews. A lot of Israelis come here. And I've had so many of the people come up to me, and I've introduced myself as them because you can hear their accents. And they literally start crying because they say, without your faza, I wouldn't be here today. So it's such a great honor to continue my dad's aloha, to be able to share with everyone the love and respect of the ocean and what it can truly do to you. And there's a couple quotes that I think that are really reminiscent of what Doc always said about surfing. And one of them is kind of funny, where he said, God would surf with the devil if the waves were good enough. And the other one is that he feels that surfing recreates you, that he's literally gone in the water, ready to blow his brains out, but come out of the water a warrior. So here in Hawaii, when surfing is such a predominant aspect of our water sports, it's something that I truly love to share with everybody. I love an opportunity to share with all our friends at the temple, anyone from around the world that's watching. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, Ken. I really want to be able to share our Shaloha, as you say, for Temple Emanu-El. I know Doc was, him and Bernard Levinson, I hear stories from the beginnings of the day here. Rabbi Rosenberg is the one who married my mom and dad when they were here in the late 50s. So it's just an honor and a pleasure to be here speaking with you folks about not only Jewish surfing, but also just Jews here in Hawaii sharing aloha with everyone else around the world. Thank you very much, everybody.
So much, that was great. I'm just so struck that we have our Jewish community has connections to people, presence like King Kalakaua, like Kirk Cashmere, like Dorian Doc Paskowitz. I mean, just all part of our history, and it just really it's incredible. And so, thank you for giving us a snapshot of your father and his impact on the world.
My pleasure, Ken. My pleasure, Rabbi.
I think, Leah, if it's okay, I can think of no better way to conclude our presenters today. Every service we pray for peace, and there's a member of our community, Seymour Kazimirski, who really was, in a sense, partially an answer to our prayers when it comes to praying for peace, and that is by organizing events in, I want to say 2015, I hope I have it right, a wonderful...
It was.
It was great. I got it right once in a while. I thought I was having a senior rabbi moment. Anyway, Ukuleles for Peace, and that really says it all. I mean, the medium, the genre of ukulele is so woven into the fabric of Hawaii, and of course, what better thing to strive for than shalom? So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Seymour Kazimirski and hopefully his screen sharing, which he did before, to finish our presentation today.
Hi, Rabbi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Leah, thank you also for putting this together. Leah, could you cue up that video that we have on the Ukuleles for Peace kids that you sent me? and we'll play that somewhere in the middle of my talk.
So the issue is I'm not able to share things from my phone. Maybe can someone else share the video?
I don't know, but I'll start anyway, just to tell you what's going on. So
I'll try it while you're talking. I'll try. Go ahead, keep going.
all right. My background here in Hawaii is all involving children and everything to do with helping kids. And I've been very lucky in the past few years to do that. One of my programs is called Make 'em Smile. And what we do is we bring 49 musicians into 9 hospitals to play music for sick children. And we play for 4,000 kids a year. And we give them stuffed animals, and we do things for them that while they're lying in their beds thinking about how terrible things are, all of a sudden a musician with an ukulele walks in and he starts singing to them, and they start smiling, and their parents are crying and smiling as well. It's a very, very good feeling. And one of our benefactors in this is a man named Roy Sakuma. And Roy is the father of ukuleles here in Hawaii. And he calls me up and he says, "Seymour, you're Jewish?" I said, "Yes, I'm Jewish." He said, "Have you ever heard of a group called Ukuleles for Peace in Tel Aviv, Israel?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, we're having our annual ukulele festival here in Hawaii in the summer, and we're going to have between 5,000 and 10,000 people attending. And this group from Israel called Ukuleles for Peace would like to come. Would you be willing to host them?" And of course, when I hear children, I'm always going for anything to do with helping kids. I did a little bit of research, and I spoke to Paul Moore, who runs the organization. And what they do is they take Israeli kids and Palestinian kids, and they teach them the ukuleles. And then they play together at different concerts all throughout Europe. And they had never been to US on a tour. So they wanted to come, and they had their expenses to New York to play the Kennedy Center, once in LA. And of course, who doesn't want to come to Hawaii, especially the kids, right? So we had 12 kids and 6 chaperones. And I thought they had their funding all together. No. So we had to go to our community. And the Jewish community in Hawaii is so responsive, to me anyway. It's incredible. I could call on my friends like Mark Bernstein and Baron Gus and all these guys, and immediately I raised the $25,000 that I needed to bring these kids to Hawaii. So just imagine 6 Israeli kids and 6 Palestinian kids, and they're playing ukuleles together, and they're the best of friends. And we are able to show that they can get together much more than the politicians can get together, or the citizens of both the Israeli occupied territories and Israel. They get to Hawaii and they play not only at the ukulele festival. Can you see over my shoulder that gold record? That gold record was given to me by Roy Sakuma because they won the best concert in the festival that year that we did it. We had them at the Hard Rock Cafe. I wish I could show you the pictures. Packed house. We had them at Temple Emanu-El Friday night. Packed house. We had them at different venues on television all over the place. And these kids were just so incredible, not just in how they play together, but you could see that the friendship was there. And every time they were interviewed on the news, every time they talked about how we could make peace in Israel, we could see that this is the conduit. The conduit is the future. The future are the children, and the children are what makes it work. And by teaching, kids are teaching adults what they can do to make Israel a peaceful place. So it was an amazing, amazing time for me. And I felt that we here in the community had done something for them that nobody else could do. And we could show different ethnicities here in Hawaii how they can be, how they can work together. And it was just an amazing time for us. So I was hoping we could end with the video playing, but I guess that's not.
Rabbi Ken, I've made you the co-host. Are you able to share?
I'm going to try to put it up right now. Here we go. Let's see if I can get the video back. Hold on.
Did you do it?
Yeah, just find it. Hold on. I had it a moment ago. Hang on. on one second. Oh, here we go. Okay. All right, let's see if I can get it. And hang on one moment. I see the video. I just have to share it. Hang on. I'm getting there.
And then make sure to share the audio.
Great.
I always forget to do that.
Okay. Here we go.
Perfect harmony, Palestinian and Israeli youth coming together in Hawaii to play music.
Can you hear it, everybody?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
For peace.
The ukulele can be used to play all kinds of music, Hawaiian, rock, reggae, but tonight 12 students use the instrument to play for peace.
A group of kids from a war-torn region of Israel is traveling the globe, playing for change, one note at a time. KITV4's Brenton Awa has the story.
The zoo's wildest show in town always draws recognizable names. That's Willie K. A 1, 2, 3, 4. But a group that's managed to fly under the radar all the way from Israel might just have the most remarkable story of any performer here.
With a constant round of violence, one side blows up a bus, the other side bombs, and another bus blows up, etc., etc., etc. It wasn't going anywhere.
Paul Moore explains how life is where they're from. He says these kids grew up around violence because of daily fights between Palestinians and Israelis.
We don't really interact with each other.
Adam Suluja.
Do you want a cup? Do you want a cup? How soon are you done?
We're actually not able to hear you.
No, sir. No, sir.
Well, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so as you can see from the video, how absolutely, how wonderful it was to have these kids. But I mean, we had some real issues here in Hawaii with these kids. Number one, it was Friday night, it was Shabbat at our temple, but 6 of these kids were not Jewish. What do you do with 6 kids who are not Jewish? You ask the imam to take them in and let them enjoy their time at the mosque. And we couldn't do that, so all of a sudden my wife became the keeper of these 6 kids. And then we took them back to their hotels and we were able to entertain them. The funnest part was taking them to see the sights, and we needed a bus to take 18 people around Oahu, if any of you have been to Honolulu. So what did we do? We take them around the island, and what do you think? They want to go surfing, and they want to go to Pipeline, and they want to go to Shark's Cove, and all the different areas here in Hawaii. We had a concert that night at 6 o'clock. They weren't back until 6:30. No time for showers. They were still dressed. All we did was make them put their t-shirts over their shorts, went to the Hard Rock Cafe, and they played from 6 o'clock till 11 o'clock at night playing at the Hard Rock Cafe. Just fantastic. So it was a wonderful time for us here in Honolulu to see that we could do something that with our little temple and our little community that most others can't do. Thanks again, Ken, and thanks, Leah.
Thank you so much, Seymour.
Thank you.
Seymour is, among other things, my go-to person when it comes to groups wanting someone to speak about the Holocaust. He is the son of a survivor. And it's just, again, just really speaks to his character that here he is, someone whose family was touched by this horrible event is going about striving to seek peace in Israel and around Israel. And so, again, we're blessed with so many mensches. I consider myself the most fortunate rabbi around. And you've seen a little small sampling of the blessings that we have here in the Jewish community. Leah, if it's okay, there were two questions that I wanted to put to the panel from your congregants, if that's okay.
Yeah, there's I saw there's a couple of questions.
Yeah, I have a couple of ones. And so Larry, Trudy, Moses, Seymour, I put this to you. Other than the dress code, how would one know that they're in Hawaii versus anywhere else in the world when they go to attend a Shabbat service? Anyone just jump in? Seymour, Moses, Trudy, Larry, how would you know?
At the Oneg,
yes.
After sitting with one of the bubbies, I'm going to go visit my family. I'm going to go see the grandkids. And you say, well, where are you going? Philadelphia? Are you going to New York? Cambodia. I'm going to Cambodia to see.
Yes, we have a different
the mishpucha.
Right, we have a different demographic makeup than other communities. Seymour, go ahead, please. What do you want to say?
For me, I think the most amazing thing is the mixed community we have.
Yeah.
You walk into Shabbat service and you'll see Japanese, Chinese, you'll see people from Vietnam, you'll see black people, white people, you'll see Spanish people, you'll see every single ethnicity. We are the most diverse, I think, of any temple that I've ever seen. And I think that's wonderful. It makes me feel very good to come on a Friday night and be able to see all these intermarriages that go. And don't forget, our military here in Hawaii is very large. So we have a very large military Jewish population. Even though they have their own temple, they still come to Friday night services. It's magnificent.
So for Bar Bat Mitzvah, when a child delivers his or her name speech, I say, talk about your English, your Hebrew, and your Hawaiian name. So that's something you don't get in, Miami. Trudy, Moses, anything before I go to the next question that was presented? Anything?
Could I tell a joke?
Yeah, please, go ahead. Keep it clean.
Okay. This was shared by my professor in my freshman year at the University of North Carolina. And he told the story of a man from Brooklyn, New York, going to China. And he went into the hinterland and he was so shocked to find that there was a synagogue there and that there were services that were going to be held that Friday night. So he went to services, and at the end of it, he went over to the rabbi and he says, "Oh, Rabbi," he says, "I'm Bernie Schwartz from Brooklyn, and I just wanted to tell you how much I enjoyed your service." And the rabbi looked at him quizzically, and he finally said, "Bernie Schwartz, are you Jewish?" And he goes, "Of course, I'm Bernie Schwartz from Brooklyn." And the rabbi goes, "Funny, you don't look Jewish." Okay, did you get it? So being a Wong, my husband definitely doesn't look Jewish, but he is. And but it's funny how we all blend together. If you look at the people that are on this, we're a blended group, and how lovely it is that Ken put this together. And that we were all together discussing different things that have affected our lives here in Hawaii, or the different ways that we have affected other lives here in Hawaii.
What do they call it?
By the way, Seymour. So all of you.
What do they call it? Chop suey. There's my neighbors are from every ethnicity, faith you could imagine, and we all live peacefully.
Yeah.
Here's another question. Yep. Okay. Sorry. Are you okay?
Someone did message me and actually wanted to share a story real quick. Do you mind if we just call on her?
Well, please.
Wanda, can you unmute yourself?
There we go. Hi.
Hi, Wanda.
Hi, everyone. Well, I just wanted to share, I have been a Jew by choice for the last quarter of a century, but my ancestors on my mother's side are the Lymans of the Big Island, who were the missionaries that imported guilt and humorlessness to the Big Island, and they were the characters. they were the basis for the characters of Max von Snowden and Julie Andrews in James Michener's Hawaii.
Wow.
So that's my little personal
Man.
connection
That's awesome.
with the islands. Sorry, it's not Jewish.
That's okay. Well, yeah, it's
Very
still
cool.
with Hawaii. Any other questions from you out there, Leah, before I address the ones on the screen here?
Wanda,
Yeah?
my wife's first husband was a Mossman. Mossmans are LDS, and they're one of the original Mormon people that came.
Okay.
So, we're all Ohana. We're all Mishpucha.
There you go. I love it.
So, Leah, I see a couple other questions. Anybody out there, though?
I think we are seeing all the same questions. So
Okay,
yeah,
good.
if you just want to
Yeah,
go.
we
from there.
don't. Professor Peter Hoffenberg is the head of our Jewish Relations Council, and really has spoken on the subject many times of, sadly, of anti-Semitism, even here in Hawaii. There's a question. It says, well, all different cultures. Are there, sadly, incidents of anti-Semitism? And I'll first turn it over to our panel. Anybody want to chime in on anything in terms of to the degree of anti-Semitism? I mean, it's sadly something that's been rising in number everywhere. But Moses, Seymour, Trudy, Larry, before I jump in, you guys want to say anything?
I find that from the business community here in Hawaii, very, very little anti-Semitism compared to what I see when I'm in different parts of the world. In my business, and I think it's been really very, very little. We're blessed with that, I think, compared to what we see elsewhere. So I don't see much anti-Semitism here.
Yeah, I mean, there are sadly incidents of a swastika found and reported, and there was an incident involving a school where one of our religious school students attends. So it does happen. We're not immune to it, and we were sadly affected by the bomb threat calls that were made some time ago. But it was actually someone on the mainland who got our IP address and made a threat against our preschool, which thankfully was not.
There's so much mixing and cross-pollination in this society that what I see is absolutely minor. The biggest thing that I've seen is all the Polak jokes we used to hear in Connecticut as kids are told, but they're told about Portuguese.
Yes, there's a comedian who does a lot of local humor. I was going to say, though, I think most of the reaction I find are people who want to know more about Judaism, and they want to know about it. They're especially if members of the Christian community here, they're what came before them. They want to know about their roots in a sense. So I think I find that more than anything else that people, and also we have a lot of interfaith activities here throughout the year that go on in groups. So I would say, yes, I agree with the panel. Go ahead.
After Friday night services, we have classes.
Yeah.
From the community college.
Right. Larry, I think
colleges, many colleges.
Yeah, your connection's a little bit weakening there, but if I understand you right, we have groups from the community colleges and University of Hawaii come and for comparative religion classes, and Larry is the person I put their hand into his capable hands to answer any questions, explain what's the significance of things in the sanctuary. So that's a very big part of it. Notable Jewish delis, kosher food. There is a gentleman, Yudi Weisbaum, who has Oahu Kosher Catering. We actually have been advertising his Shabbat food to go or for delivery lately. But you can find kosher food items at Whole Foods, other places. We don't have a store.
But Ken, we have to throw in, we can't not throw a shout out for This Is It Bakery.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes.
Every week.
We have a delicious challah that we get every week from This Is It in Kaka'ako, and they have deli sandwiches. Oh, yeah, right. And I pray that they'll stay around because they're our source for challah. We also have a member of our congregation, Deborah Warshawski, who makes challah in all types of shapes based on things like holidays, the portion in the Torah that week. It's incredible. Let's see. We do read the Torah occasionally on Erev Shabbat and Shabbat evenings. Not so much lately with the virtual services, but we have in the past. There's always a sermon in. And of course, we have a Shabbat morning service when we have a bar bat mitzvah. That's when we have our Shabbat morning service. Yes, Chabad is on every island. They're around everywhere, especially here on Oahu. Cultural interactions with local Hawaiians. There are a couple of members of the community who are my go-betweens, and they've brought people here to see the Kalakaua Scroll. We have one of the Czech Torah scrolls that survived the Shoah. So there is some interaction. I think I've covered all the questions. I hope I didn't leave anybody out. But Leah, you have any last words you want to share with us before we?
Mostly of gratitude. I just want to say thank you so much, Rabbi, because I contacted you. I pitched this sort of random idea to you, and you were on it, and you brought all these amazing panelists on board. So thank you for being. It was seamless working with you. Thank you for that.
Well, this was really Besher, because everything you threw to me as a possible topic. Here we have, Seymour, Trudy, Larry, Moses. They all just checked the boxes. So, I mean, it was just Besher. It was just meant to be.
Yes, this is wonderful. So, yes, I guess a thank you to all the panelists. Yeah. I hope you guys will join us for our next virtual tour. We'll talk more later if that's something that works for you guys.
Yeah.
So I will mention, so you mentioned the topic of Mormons got brought up earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow, we are going to be in Salt Lake City.
Wow.
Yeah, we're going to be meeting with one of the main rabbis there. His name is Rabbi Samuel Spector of Congregation Kol Ami. We're also having a leader from the Mormon community and also another Jewish woman who was very involved in the National Council for Jewish Women and is a state representative. So that's tomorrow. We're concluding this tour. It's at 4 p.m. California time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll have more information tomorrow on the next panel or the next virtual.
If you could send that to me, that would be great. And my favorite stop so far of yours was Whitefish, Montana. I think for a Jewish tour, Whitefish has to be the best place to go.
It was great.
I am so grateful to our panelists and whom I am blessed to call, members of my community. So thank you. Thank you everybody from your congregation who, for your attendance today. And thank you, Leah, for making this all happen.
This was lovely.
Shaloha, everybody.
Aloha.
Be well. Hang loose.
Right. See you everybody tomorrow.
Thank y'all.